Hey everyone, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. I'm just going to check I'm live on Facebook as well at the same time. I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. I hope you enjoy it. Thoughts as usual. I've been a bit procrastinating, as I put it, struggling to decide what to write, or struggling to get motivated as usual, watching too much YouTube and that kind of thing. But yeah, struggling to push myself to write and make videos and that kind of thing. But I suddenly thought I'd talk about this. So I hope I won't be too repetitive. Please forgive me if I do. If I am too repetitive or whatever, if I do repeat myself. But I thought I'd talk about some of my ideas in my mind. And one of the things I was thinking about is an idea called Politics Asia. I call it Politics Asia, and I thought I'd talk about that. And again, I hope I don't repeat myself too much from previous videos, but please forgive me if I do, as ever. So as per usual, I thought I'd do this in list form from pointers number 1 to 10. Earlier on, I actually I tried to turn my laptop on, and actually it wasn't turning on. I thought, oh, so I'm going to be without my laptop for however long. But luckily, when I unplugged it and put it back on, it started working again. But anyway, yeah, here's some of my dreams for empowering people across Asia, which I hope to focus on in April, May, and June as much as possible. Unfortunately, there's war going on and things like that are not helping the situation. But anywho, here goes. So, number one, my idea of Politics Asia is probably quite a simplistic idea. I guess it's to create a news channel, I guess, or an idea that maybe people in Asia could create a news channel. I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a silly idea or a simplistic idea, but I thought it could, I suppose, like most news channels, make money through like advertising and that kind of thing, and talk about news from across Asia. There could be a version for Africa as well. I talk about like politics across and around Asia because of my silly use of alliterations. So obviously around and across Asia, AA, and that kind of thing, or AAA or whatever. But yeah, so that's my idea. So yeah, it's probably quite a silly or simplistic idea when I think about it. Although some people say the most simple ideas can sometimes work best. But yeah, the idea would be a bit like any news channel, I guess. I think of CNN or whatever, but I guess selling advertising space. But maybe different news channels from across Asia or different organisations from across Asia could work together to share news from all over the continent. And to record news from an Asian perspective. Also, I hope to promote Pan-Asianism, thinking about number one, like coming together and working together to support each other's projects, and working together as one somehow, which is very hard to imagine because Asia, just like Africa, unfortunately, is very divided. I suppose you could say that about the world generally. Yeah, to work together, and from a selfish point of view, I'd love for Asian nations to invite Italian teams like Inter and other Italian teams, Serie A teams and the FIGC, and even like school teams across Italy to come to Asia and to practice playing football and hopefully benefit Asian football, but also, most importantly for me, benefiting Italian football. But I hope they'll also benefit Asian economies of this quirky little thing. I joke about like being mixed race and like saying I'm mixed up, so I only support Italy in and for football as my one concession to Italy, in spite of the fact that they are an imperialistic country. So I still support them in football because I supported them when I was younger, and I think I love Italian, that kind of thing. But yeah, when it comes to economics or finances, I normally support Asia and Africa financially, or even former colonies more generally. But moving on, number two, I hope Asian nations can learn from each other as much as possible, learn about each other's cultures and traditions, and try each other's foods, support each other's projects, and maybe invest together. But also learn about like what has China done well for their economy, what has India done well, Thailand, the rest of Asia, what have they done well economically, and how can they learn from each other and have cultural exchanges. I've got the same point number one. I'd love for Central Asia, again, I know I've mentioned this quite a lot, but I hope to somehow find a way to put that into action. So I'd love for Central Asia to host events to promote Pan-Asianism and invite Italian teams and Celtic to come and play football specifically football across Asia. But they could have networking events with each other with sports when it comes to Italy, Irish sport, in the football, similar to Celtic, I guess. Well, Celtic is a football club. But yeah, I'd love for Central Asian nations especially to host events and have like buildings for the Asian Alliance, which I hope to create. I meant to mention point number one, but I forgot. But yeah, to learn about each other, learn about each other's cultures, traditions, and whatnot, and histories, and learn from each other as well, and network together, invest together, and that kind of thing. And again, like say, learning what China has done to grow their economy. I think a lot of a lot of African nations could learn from China and India, like how they've grown their economy, and use that as a benchmark, see what they could do. I think if Africa and Asia were more united, I think they could do a lot better. In this case, I'm going to say Asia. And I think there was something else I was going to say, but I completely forgot. Yeah, one of the disadvantages of doing my videos live, like I forget things or whatever. But talking about learning, though, I think I remember what I was going to say. But talking about learning, I'd love for people from across Asia to learn about autism and ADHD. Two other things that I'm covering because they were for April. But also talking about learning, I'd love for you to share in the comments what I could do to better put my ideas into action. So how can I take an idea like a news channel like Politics Asia and develop it and into a business or whatever? Not that I want to make money, but for myself, but for Asians too. Well, it's an idea I hope to share with people from Asia to create for their own benefit, as I'm not that materialistic myself, but it's a purpose I think of in life. And how can I, talking about purpose, how can I stick to my purpose and be more decisive and things like that? And also, how could I put my ideas into action? And what would you do to benefit Asia? And moving on to point number three, I'd love to promote libertarianism across Asia. Again, another point I know I cover quite a lot, but I'd love for Asian nations to learn about libertarianism, and I'd love to promote it somehow. More freedoms. Like to me personally, I think it'd be cool if people could do whatever they want as long as it's within the law, and there should be as few laws as possible. I know there's got to be some laws, even I know that. Like, so I know you can't just, I know you can't walk around naked or I don't know, you can't just do certain things that there should be some laws. Obviously, we can't just steal from each other or attack each other or whatever it might be. But I think there should be as few rules and laws as possible, and people should have more free choices about what they do with themselves and their body and their life and whatever, within some reasons. I'd love to know what you think about that. What freedoms do you think people should or shouldn't have? What freedoms and human rights and that kind of thing do you think Asia should have? I'd love to know that. But moving on to number four, I'd love to promote peace across Asia. Another one, talk about something. Thinking about the situation with the Iran war, there's a few things that scare me, other than people suffering generally anyway. So I suppose there's two or three things. One, people suffering anyway in Iran or anywhere else. The second thing is like if America is not doing well in the war, I fear that they might go nuclear. I hope that never happens, but part of me thinks with many different nations having nuclear weapons rather than just one, it could have an advantage. Like if any nation does use nukes or terrible weapons like that, then other nations could say, well, you are a pariah state. It's a big word for me, especially pariah, but you would be ostracized by the international community, so that could affect you in business. But also maybe it could be a deterrent that says like if any one nation uses nukes, then another nation would, heaven forbid, another nation would use it against them. Hopefully no one ever will. I thought it'd be quite cool if someone, maybe people from across Asia, or some people work together, maybe people with autism, ADHD, or related conditions, or whatever, worked together to create something that could destroy weapons. I think that'd be pretty cool. Although I don't know how that would work without causing damage. But ideally, I'd love to see like things that could destroy, like destroy things like nuclear weapons, and also I know there's campaigns like for nuclear disarmament and that kind of thing, the campaign for nuclear disarmament and that kind of thing. But also if there were things that could stop earthquakes and tsunamis and things like that. So I know there's like early warning systems, but I thought it'd be pretty cool if there was an invention that could actually somehow stop them, or at least limit the damage they cause. But I suppose I'm being very idealistic. I think there was another thing, but I can't quite remember. But another fear I have for the Iran war is like America, or maybe even Britain or other parts of Europe. Apparently, Germany, for instance, have made something where you can't leave the country if you're a fighting age male, which seems a bit sexist to me, but misandrist, you could call it. But I don't want to get too much into that, but um, that does worry me, like about forced conscription or that kind of thing. And I think people should come together, especially POC, people of colour, people of African and Asian descent around in the West, um, and also minorities generally, Black, Asian, and minority people and POC people of colour should challenge it and say we refuse to allow ourselves to be recruited. And I think they can't build that many prison places enough to keep us all locked up. I'm sure. I hope not. Anyway, and even the people, if enough people rebelled, I don't really agree with breaking the law. So that would be a very big dilemma. I think we should lobby for international law, like people like me working together. Like I want to make a group called Right to Resist and like Courage to Resist. I'm not going a bit off topic, but like I think if people of Black and Asian descent are Black and Asian descent, African and Asian descent, like if Black and Asian people are conscripted, then it's in the future we could be used to. No, I'm only off, but POC like myself could be used to fight other POC. So maybe it's something POC could work together with, and people who support pacifism and conscientious objection more generally. So I'd love to create, as I say, a group called Right to Resist, work together with Courage to Resist and other pacifists and cerebral conscientious objecting groups, and to write to like the UN Human Rights Watch and whatnot, and say we're going to limit forced conscription. Sorry, I'm going to say conscription then. Conscription. But anyway, yeah. To challenge forced conscription. Like I'd love to. I know I've mentioned it in the past, I say, but I'd love to. I'd love to try to ban it from countries that already have it, and certainly to ensure that it's not introduced into new countries like Britain or America or whatnot. So yeah, I think if enough of us challenge it and make sure it doesn't happen, hopefully, because I read that America, they're saying it's going to happen in December for fighting age males, and Germany has said you can't leave the country for more than 3 months without permission and things like that. So again, I think we should challenge this together and try and promote peace instead of violence. It would be good if you get people in other parts of the world, like Iran or whatever, also to agree to make peace instead of war. But if you look at Iran's history, people say they haven't even invaded any other nations in their history, whereas America, Britain, and others have. So, no, another controversial view. But yeah, those are some of my fears, and I think we could work together to challenge that. But also talking about, as I say, I'd love to see an Asian alliance that creates peace, ideally across Asia. And I think there was a few other things I was going to mention. I'm going to say something about George Galloway, but I think I'll talk about that another time, possibly in May, if I don't go to it this month, or in August, my birth month, but or ASAP basically. But anyway, as the video has gone on quite long, I'm going to move on to point number 5. So another one I mentioned quite a lot is like supporting Asian ambition. So like, well, that's individual ambitions, or nations' ambitions. Like China and India could put their differences aside and use disputed territories like in the Himalayan mountains to work together to say they're going to network together in anti-terror drills, anti-invasion drills, surveillance drills, and learning from each other and working together. So cooperating together, militarily, politically, and business-wise, trading together, networking together, that kind of thing, learning from each other and helping each other's economies to grow. I'd love for an Asian alliance to encourage that generally. I'd love for there to be a Chindian partnership between China and India. And again, another one I mentioned in the past. Number 6, I hope for all possible Italian teams, Serie A teams, Serie B, Serie G, lower leagues, and whatnot, so amateur teams, and even park teams, and especially youth teams. Well, that's youth teams that play in the park, or actually call like school teams, to have cultural exchanges from Italy in Asia, so they play football together, which I hope will benefit Italian football and Asia as well. I'd love to. I know I talked about like how I'd love for Asians to follow, support, sponsor, and invest into town teams, but also to play and practice together. And I again hope that benefits both. I'd love for there to be sports clubs and academies for town teams across Asia as well. And same sort of thing with Celtic. And also, I'd love to see how town football and Celtic, as they can benefit them as well. So mutual benefit, and how Asians can work together to make life easier for themselves and for others. As I say, I'd love it if people could invent something. Maybe people from Asia could invent things that can somehow destroy weapons without causing too much damage, or preferably causing as little damage as possible. I think it'd be so cool if someone could create something that could get rid of nukes somehow, which would make the world a much safer place, and also prevent things like illnesses, diseases, natural disasters, and that kind of thing, or at least limit the negative effects of such. I know I'm pretty mad and idealistic, but I thought I'd share those mad dreams as ever. Number 8, I wonder how Black and Asian people can improve their relations around the world, and how people from the diaspora could help Asia, and how POC, people of colour, could work together especially against imperialism and white supremacy and that kind of thing, neo-Nazis and that kind of working together against them. Working together against neo-Nazis, just clarify. But I use these terms interchangeably, like white supremacists, neo-Nazis, the far right, right-wing extremism and whatnot. So I don't mean like conservatives, I mean people who are actually hateful people. I hope that makes sense. Number 9, I'd love to promote Asian poetry, art and writing. And number 10, I'd love to support and empower young people. And again, hope that young footballers from Italy and from Celtic especially, and footballers from all ages from Italy and Celtic, but especially younger ones, to play football across Asia. Again, hope that'll be a mutual benefit. And as ever, I'd love to know what you think if you made it this far. Thanks for listening to me waffle, and I'm out. And peace and love.